Okay, so first things first. Sucks that we can't say the chimps, but once you press tab.
Yeah, it was a top lane
Okay, there we
clip.
go. No, we already got it. All
Yeah.
right. So, what are you thinking right now? What's your thought process? What are your like what do you see about your lanes? What do you see about like
hmm
the game plan here is actually like surprisingly, you guys have a pretty good comp with pretty well defined win conditions. So what would you say your win conditions? What do you want to play around? Like, what is your game plan?
Um, Honestly, I just think it's a bit hard to gank bot since it's Janna Ezreal. Um, and we have an aggressive bot lane anyway, so I think they should do fine by themselves. I wanted to for sure invade the Hecarim. That's why I like pick Xin Zhao. Because he's like weak and early, right? So I tried to go around that. And on top lane, I knew that he would play aggressive, but it's like Kled, and you like get outplayed, and like the top laner was Phil or something like that. So I didn't really try to play around that. So I just tried to play around the immobile mid lane around Lux, and just try to kill the Hecarim in his jungle.
Okay, so
Yeah.
basically, whenever you have insanely aggressive bot laners like Leona, Samira, you play for them. Every
Mm,
single time you play for them, you have Draven Thresh, Callista Thresh. Anybody who just gets one kill and the game is over, you play for it. Gangplank is a very strong weak side champion. He doesn't really
mm,
die, he just farms, he does whatever. Victor, also early game, there's like no real damage if you can get a kill on Lux, but right now, I would be looking to play around bot lane, play around mid lane.
mm.
So if I can see a dive, like just because they're aggressive doesn't mean that they're actually going to naturally
Yeah,
win lane. Leona doesn't.
yeah,
Okay, sorry,
yeah,
continue.
yeah. Like I didn't want to path towards them in the sense of like I wanted to invade him first and then, like go bot lane maybe.
Well, you just look at it. If it's diveable, if it's gankable, then
hmm
you go for it, right? You don't like you don't say, okay, well I'm going to invade them, then I'm going to gank them, because you need to
Yeah,
look at the lanes first to see if it's actually gankable in the first place. If it's
yeah.
gankable, obviously you send it, right? If it's diveable, boom, you send it, right? Is
Mm,
Hecarim even going to be pathing in there in the first place? Well, you have to look at lanes, you have to look at CO leash, right? That's
yeah.
that's all dependent. But for here, I would say my game plan is just Red Raptors Gromp, look bot lane. If I can do anything, I can do something. If not, then it depends on where he started. Um,
Yeah, I stayed
okay,
too
now you're
long.
troll you're
We like
trolling
went
hard. You
yeah,
100% path down here. No, you're trolling super
yeah,
hard. You path down here.
yeah,
Why you do not you never path into like a Clud lane in general.
yeah.
It's just really rough. It's almost impossible to kill him, and you already mentioned that your top laner's autofilled. You 100% path towards bot. Yeah. So this is not ideal.
I thought it was like because I want to invade him and I knew he would like start bot when I saw that they were like going towards there.
So first things first, you don't full clear on Xin. It's really inefficient. So here's a bunch of Xin clears. Most of the time, you're going to be, if you're starting blue, you do blue grump red. Wait, hold, this is the
Mm,
wrong channel for this. Um, Most of the time, if you're going to be, hopefully that works, that you're starting, uh, where did, where did it go? Oh, there it is. Um, If you're starting blue buff, you do blue grump red and then look for a play. You want to hit
mm,
3 as soon as possible. Any time that you're farming one of your camp is time that you could spend farming one of the enemy camps. You are
yeah.
really strong. You could either be ganking, you could be doing something like that. You want to spend as
Um.
little time.
Yep.
Sorry.
But I felt like because I saw him bot lane and he like wasted enormous time on bot lane. Like when they cheesed, he like came there to pick up the kill on Leona. I think it was. I thought like I have enough time to like clear the wolves and
Well,
still invade him on the blue.
but you could it doesn't matter if like you want to hit
Mm-hmm.
3 as soon as possible because every camp, so your wolf is equal to his wolf. The
Yeah.
amount of time that you spend taking your camp is time that you could spend taking his camp. So
Mm,
when you go blue gromp red or red raptors gromp, you're trying to spend as little time farming your jungle as possible so that you can go straight to his jungle and farm him. You can look for a gank. Like we're not even looking at mid lane right now. Like
yeah.
Victor's about to TP in and looks it could easily die here. But
Mm,
we're just not looking, right?
yeah.
Like
I think it was too focused on like invading him.
right, you're too set into your mindset of I need to force something like this and you're not let like
Yeah.
be like water, you know?
Yeah.
be like water, right? Like you want to be malleable. You want your plan to be malleable. You want to have a game plan, but you also want it to be open for changes. So you look for stuff like that. That's why if you're playing stuff like Xin, you're playing stuff like Lee Sin, you never ever fill clear. You go for three camp, and then you look
Hmm.
for something. You have to look for something because your champion falls off too hard for you to actually do anything else.
Mm.
So you want to spend as little time going for that as possible. Learn the clears. I mean, he's just trolling. Yeah, he's just trolling. You could easily triple kill here. This is just they're just trolling. You griefed that a bit, but that's fine.
Mm.
Yeah, you griefed that a little bit. It's fine though. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I also highly recommend not going lethality.
Yeah.
If you want damage, you just go shield bow. Like
Mm.
you go if you want to stay alive, like Eclipse versus Shield Bow is pretty much just always better. If you want to do damage, then you just do Essence Reaver into Shield Bow.
Hmm.
It's better 10 times out of 10. Eclipse as an item
Hmm.
sucks. It's really bad. It's especially bad on Xin Zhao because it's like he doesn't really make good use of lethality at all. The Omnivamp is a wasted stat. And because if Omnivamp in general is less efficient than Lifesteal,
Hmm.
because it works on abilities too. So in general, Omnivamp is going to be a lot less efficient than Lifesteal will. So if you're building an actual dedicated Lifesteal item, it's going to be way more efficient and way better for you than Omnivamp would be.
Mm.
And I mean, it's just overall just a bunch of wasted stats. Shield Bow gives you like 600 HP, 700 HP. It's really disgusting. Much better in every single circumstance. The build order
Okay.
is a little bit worse, but if you have a 1300 recall, there's just no universe that you wouldn't go Noon Quiver
Hmm.
over Serrated Dirk. Um, okay, I mean, we're not even looking at lanes.
Yeah, I
Like
was just too focused on
you're
messing
too
him up.
tunneled. You're too tunneled. You're too
Yeah.
tunneled. And when you're tunneled like this, you're not even like Xin Zhao. Individual leads on Xin Zhao don't really do anything.
Yeah.
If you're playing something like Hecarim or you're playing something like Karthus or something like that, where you're just completely focused on individual leads over the enemy jungler, yeah, it's fine. But Xin Zhao doesn't scale well enough for you to like
Hmm.
you don't have the agency, you don't have the ability to play like that.
Hmm.
You need to be thinking about first and foremost, how can I play around my laners? Because
Yeah.
your laners are going to be the ones that are actually going to carry this game, not you. You're not the win condition in
Mm.
circumstances like this. So I mean, yes, I like that you're like playing for leads over the enemy jungle, which is, great, but
Mm.
you need to be looking at your options. You need to be thinking, okay, what can I do next? What can I play around? Like you can't be stuck in this and stuff like this, right?
Mm.
We're not even looking bot lane here. So like
Yeah.
bot lane could be reset. They probably are reset, but like, it's just things that you want to be paying attention to, right?
Mm.
Um I mean, yeah, it's just we're like basically locked camera right now. We have let's look at the when was the last time we looked at a lane? Um,
Probably after I killed Hecarim.
yeah, I think so. I think you looked mid lane
Mid lane, yeah.
after. Okay, so you looked mid lane right here, so that's 432. So let's see when the next time you looked at a lane was. Let me speed this up a little bit. Okay, so that's the first that 232.
Mm.
So for about 2 minutes straight, we didn't look at a single lane. Wait,
Mm.
was it 230?
I felt like there was nothing to do really.
Well, I mean, but you wouldn't you don't know that until you actually
Yeah.
look at the lanes, right? So actually just look at it. Look at the wave states. Look just gather information so that you know what you want to do next. Because if you're just perma locked camera, you have no idea what's like what you can actually do, right? It just makes life really, really difficult for you.
Mm.
Um Like I like that you're going for invades, you're going for stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to know that if they're good or like if they're good or not, instead of just stat
Yeah.
checking them and hoping that you flip it, right? Um, I mean, so this is so remember what I was saying about every single time you want to make sure that you have prio before you start an objective?
Yeah.
This is rough because right now your bot lane's fighting. Well, we're not looking at it, but bot lane's fighting right now. Look at their HP totals. I mean, mid lane's fight like Leona's taking a bunch of damage. Like they're fighting a lot, right? So start
Yeah.
when you're starting like uh, I mean this is fine, I guess. You don't want to like walk in a straight line though when you're like
Yeah.
in just like autoing them. You want every single time you auto, you want to move out, right? Move
Mm.
away, move away, move away, move away, right? Kite him out. Just so that she can't just, Q you and walk away. But
Yeah.
like bot lane, like our bot, we agree Samira Leona snowballs insanely hard, right?
Yeah.
But we're playing for a Victor Lux lane,
Mm.
right? So you see the issue there, right?
Mm.
One lane is like, if Victor gets 10 kills, is he gonna really do anything until like 4 items?
Not really.
Not really, because the way
Yeah.
Victor works is that he's dependent on spikes. He doesn't snowball. Once he gets to his spikes, he's a god. But
Yeah.
influencing him by giving him more gold, is Lux gonna do anything if she's more fed? So it's like mid lane's just
Yeah.
an she's
Yeah.
not. She's not gonna do anything really.
Yeah.
She doesn't. It's a non-issue, right? Like the only real lane that's actually volatile that you have is
Mm.
going to be bot lane. That's it.
Mm.
So when you're perma forcing on mid lane and stuff like that, it's just really really rough, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not your win condition. You're especially not looking at bot, which is not ideal, you know, like
Mm.
and uh. So don't lead with your W if you're in E range.
Yeah.
If you're in E range, you never lead with your W. You just E onto them and then you W them when they're knocked up.
Mm.
So like right here, if you wanted to go for him, because the thing is like if he just flashed it, you have no way of killing him,
Yeah.
right? Because then you just missed your highest damage ability that you have, especially with lethality. So you're much
Mm.
much better off just Eing onto them, and then as soon as they're knocked up, then you go for your Q. You also like when you E onto them, you ult as soon as yeah, you ult as soon as you E. Looks like you did it there a little bit late, but it's
Yeah. I
fine.
got knocked up.
Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, the reason why you do that is just so that it's current health damage,
Mm.
so you get a little bit of extra damage. It's nice. Um, I mean, yeah, we're kind of we're playing Xin like we would play Hecarim right now.
Mm.
Like you're not looking at lanes, you're just perma full clearing, which is fine on Hecarim because
Mm. He
it doesn't
scales.
matter, right? He
Yeah.
scales, or well, he doesn't scale, but he's like
He doesn't
he
fall off.
he falls off pretty hard, but he's like gold hungry.
Mm.
He's item hungry, right? He
Yeah.
wants those items. So perma full clearing is fine because you want to get to those spikes. Xin Zhao doesn't have any spikes. He spikes
Yeah.
early and falls off like a brick.
Yeah.
So it's really really rough when because like we're not looking at the wave state right now because maybe Victor needs our help right now. You know,
Yeah.
maybe Victor needs our help right now. Maybe top lane is going to be staying. Maybe bot lane needs our help. Maybe they're perma shoving bot lane. But that's the
Yeah.
thing about Xin Zhao is individual leads don't really matter. So when you're playing like just full clear farm simulator that works really really well and stuff like Hecarim, the playstyle doesn't like you know it doesn't stay. That's why generally when I recommend like I'll recommend similar champions. I don't really recommend Xin Zhao to like carry junglers like because he,
Mm.
he isn't really a carry jungle. He's more of like a utility. He can carry, but he's more just like he wants to play through team because of how hard he falls off. So like
Yeah.
stuff like with stuff like with Hecarim, like generally I would recommend stuff like Karthus or stuff like stuff like Graves, stuff like similar champions, even Viego, right? All of them are
Mm.
really similar. Xin Zhao is a completely different playstyle though, and it's really really rough, and it's also not
Mm.
necessary. If so, I mean, you know.
Mm.
I mean, the biggest ones, the biggest things to that have like the most important things is just lack of camera control.
Mm.
Um, we're kind of not really like we're pinging, but we're only pinging when it benefits us. We're not pinging Hecarim's pathing. We're not really like, we're going for objectives, which is nice, but we're not like, think of it like looking both ways before you cross the street, right? You want to
Mm.
look at your lanes before you go for an objective every single time. You don't want to just run into the middle of the street without looking to
Yeah.
see if there's any cars, because then you just get fucked, right?
Mm.
Same thing as that. Unless it's like a guaranteed W, you never W to start with. It's too easy to dodge.
Yeah.
It's like a Nidalee spear, you know? See? If
Yeah.
like, now we just wasted all of our W damage. If we die here instead of 1v2ing, it's specifically because of that.
Mm.
Because we easily could have killed him if we just got our W damage off. Because he was literally just W damage and then a 1 HP, right? We
Yeah.
should die here. 100% we die here, right? There's no way he fucks us up, right? Right?
I mean 1-for-1.
Okay. I mean, Kled just turbo trolled that.
Mm.
That's fine. Wait, we're going Essence Reaver
Yeah,
after?
I
Okay,
wanted to carry this kind of.
right. But if you're going Essence Reaver, just go Shield Bow.
Mm.
You know, like
Yeah.
you can go it, but Shield Bow gives you way more,
Yeah, this
like way
was
more tankiness. I mean,
really
this
bad.
is you're kind of like you're completely turbo tunneled. Like
Yeah.
you're going for like plays that just don't benefit you at all. Like,
Yeah.
or it doesn't benefit your team at all. Like, even if
Yeah.
this works, even if you kill everybody, what's the fucking point? You know?
Yeah.
Like, your team isn't even like behind, really. Like, your bot lane's winning, your top lane's going even, your mid lane's even. Like,
Well, he's down 50 CS, right? Top lane. And he lost
is
tower.
he down 50
Yeah.
CS? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he's
I
down.
was
It's not that
a
bad.
bit
It's not
tilted.
when he's. I mean, it's not really that bad because
Mm.
Kled just falls off and he's going tank anyways. So
Mm.
it's just how Kled works. He's the
Yeah.
turbo hard lane bully. This isn't
Mm.
really that bad at all.
Mm.
Like, you can't really expect somebody to win lane in a terrible matchup
Yeah.
just because, and like, especially when you don't give him any help and it's presumed that Hecarim permapath top, you know?
Yeah.
So you can't really blame him for that.
Yeah.
Um,
But like Victor growing Crown Guard here, I think it's pretty troll, right?
nope, not really,
What? I thought
because
it's like only good like if you get really one-shotted.
Hecarim Kled. Hecarim Kled. And Lux, if he goes Crown against Lux, she can't 100 to 0 him. This is good to
Mm.
go Crown here.
Okay. I think you.
It's only not
Mm.
great against Ezreal, but he can just sit back and he's fine. But he needs
Mm.
it or else he's just gonna get one shot by Kled and Hecarim, and on top of that,
Mm.
it's also really, really good against Lux. Because Lux is like the only way that she can poke it down is with her E, and if he has like a
Yeah.
brain, he just sits out of range of that.
Mm.
So it only benefits her if she's trying to like 100 to 0 him, and
Mm.
that crown goes the
Mm.
entirety of the Lux root duration.
Mm.
So she can't one shot it.
Okay.
So yeah, his itemization is fine here.
Okay.
Like we've ganked like 2 lanes in
Yeah.
13 minutes on Xin. Like
Yeah.
that's not the move. It doesn't matter what the lead we get over Hecarim because he doesn't give a
Yeah.
shit. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. Like that about what his individual lead is when he can just run bot and just gank. Like
Mm.
it's nice that we're shutting him down, right?
Mm.
It's nice, but that's not our win condition because all Hecarim has to do is make it out to like 15 minutes and now we're useless. And he's also useless, but we're both useless. And when you spend all of your time, playing for individual leads on champions like Zen, you're going to find yourself
Yeah.
that your team is not going to just naturally win. When you're not helping your like we're not paying attention. Like our Leona has 1 HP here, right?
Mm.
Um Victor has no prio mid. Why are we trying
Yeah.
to contest this?
I just felt like I'm really strong. I don't know.
Right, but it's a 4v5.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how strong we are because we don't have numbers advantage. Like
Mm.
we're 2v4 here, because Victor can't
Mm.
rotate. Victor winds up
Mm.
losing like 2 waves. It's not worth
Mm.
it for him. It's genuinely not worth it because it's like why would Victor try to play for this fight, right?
Yeah.
When Leona's in base, that we're not even that far ahead, you
Mm.
know? And on top of that, like he's not in a position to rotate. You know,
Yeah.
he was in base, so we're just forcing these fights that don't really benefit us, that we don't have our team with us. Just it's like we're ego fighting, you know?
Yeah.
Like if Leona was with us, this would be turbo good, right?
Mm.
But
Yeah.
like, you know, this is very much not ideal. We can just wait. Like we don't have to just start it. We zoned him
Mm.
off. Like we zoned him off.
Yeah.
We don't have to start it. We can just wait for Leona. We can just if we really want to contest it, what we can do is help Victor shove out, right?
Mm.
Help Victor shove out and then move in through mid. That way,
Mm.
it's a 4v5 or it's a 4v4 or 3v3
Mm.
I guess in our favor because Lux can't move. And if Lux moves, she loses the wave. And then you guys just
Mm.
wait. You poke him down, they don't get to dragon, and then you wait for Leona to come in instead of forcing a fight where you
Mm.
guys are a man down, you know?
Mm.
Um, Works out though because our team is pretty strong. Victor's
Mm.
outscaling and bot lane won naturally. Um, I mean, we're just what's the point of pinging him?
Who did I ping? I didn't see it.
You're spam pinging Gangplank like because like what is the point of this?
I don't know. I was pretty tilted. I thought because it's like um, kind of behind, right?
Right, but is that his fault? He's playing Gangplank against Kled where he's like
Yeah.
perma
No,
1v2.
I like asked him like why he's feeling, why he's playing Gangplank. I like if he couldn't play anything else.
I mean, maybe Malphite would be better here, but like
Yeah.
you know, who cares? People play shit when they're filled all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's not it could he be way stronger? Yeah, but like blaming him when, you know,
Yeah.
he's weak-sided is
Yeah.
like not really the move. Also
Yeah.
typing is also not really the move. I
Yeah.
highly recommend that if you're doing this consistently that you just play with chat off
Yeah.
because this is
I had
pointless.
it off and then I got like really tilted the game
Right.
before that, and then I put it back
Remember what
on.
we were talking about where like if you're really tilted you should just stop playing for the day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're this tilted, you just quit.
Yeah.
It's fine. You know, play on your Smurf or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
just you're just done for the day. Because
Mm.
this is pointless. This does absolutely
Yeah.
nothing. And if you're playing this
Yeah.
tilted, you shouldn't be playing at all.
Yeah.
Like trust me, I get it. I tilt too. I tilt too.
Yeah.
But you need to understand when you're tilted and just say, okay, fuck it. It's done. That's why you have to have these strict schedules for yourself. You lose 2 games in a row, all right, fine. You lose
Yeah.
one, then you take, you know, take deep breaths, take a walk or something, come back, and then after two, it's just over. And you have to have this routine for yourself, or you're going
Yeah.
to just spam lose games. Like you're just going to permatype, you're going to wind up getting banned again, and
Yeah.
this is just what's going to wind up happening, you know? Because like we're spam pinging Kled. Like what does this do?
Yeah.
Does this have any like impact on us winning the game?
No. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't do anything. It's pointless, you know?
Yeah.
We're spamming victor itemization.
Yeah.
Like what focus on our own play. We're like
Yeah.
focus on our own play. We don't give a fuck about them. Like we've already talked about how it doesn't matter what our team does. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Are we going to be playing with these guys next game?
Probably not. No.
No. So what is the point in flaming them?
Yeah.
We're not going to improve them or fix them or anything like that. That's
Yeah.
not going to happen. So all this is doing is just wasting time that we could be focused on the game and tilting our teammates, which
Yeah.
is also not ideal. This was a good fight. Yep. Did he have ult?
Not sure.
I mean, either way, not you want to save your flash for something that actually matters. Your flash is
Okay.
not worth Hecarim's life.
Mm.
You know, because you could use it during the next fight, which the next fight's
Yeah.
going to be important because it's going to be the third dragon, and that
Yeah.
dragon's going to determine soul. And now we're not going to have flash for that, which is really, really important. Okay, I mean
Yeah.
they're just trolling. You just take this. Yep, and kill him. Yep.
I think I kind of threw the game like not pathing towards the third dragon. We're gonna see it anyways, right?
I mean, regardless of whose fault it is, it's pointless. It
Yeah.
doesn't. I already told you this,
Yeah.
right? Assigning blame is pointless. What is it?
Mm.
What is the point of assigning blame? Like, does it? No, like seriously, it's a genuine question. What are the benefits of assigning blame? I'm looking
I
for
guess
any benefit at all for assigning blame.
I guess you feel a bit better about
Okay,
that you lost. I
okay,
think that's it. Yeah.
right. So does that help us improve?
No.
Right. We lose games. It happens, right?
Yeah.
But if like the way to deal with that is just realizing that it doesn't matter that we lost because our
Mm.
LP is irrelevant. Instead, focus on what we learned, what we can improve on. That's
Yeah.
what matters. And losing, gaining LP it doesn't fucking matter at all.
Yeah.
There's no it matters absolutely zero. So there's just no point, you know? Whereas
Mm.
instead we focus on what we can improve on, focus on what we can do that does so much more, you know?
Yeah. Uh, yeah, but you're a troll for sure. Like I don't know why I would go top.
Because you're tilted, because you're tilting yourself.
Yeah.
Like when you type to teammates when you spam ping, that just tilts you even more.
Yeah.
Like it's not the outlet that people think it is. It just makes you more tilted because
Yeah.
you're enforcing like on yourself that like, oh, you're in the right here, everybody else is wrong, and you're tilting.
Mm.
Like that's all pinging and typing does, and I should know
Mm.
because I do this all the time when I'm super
Yeah.
super tilted, and I know this from experience. And the best way to do it is just to stop. To get rid of it is just to stop.
Yeah.
Because like right now we're just mad. Like
Yeah.
we're just tilting. Like we're not. We probably would have fought this regardless of whether if Samir was here or if
Yeah.
Gangplank was here, and then we still would have blamed. Yep,
Yeah.
we still would have blamed. Like when we're just running in 1v4. This is literally
Yeah.
like even if like Samira needs help here, right?
Yeah.
This is just troll. This is
Mm.
just troll because even if Samira was full HP here, we still lose this.
Yeah.
This is just we're just turbo griefing.
Mm.
And we're tilting ourselves. That's all this does is just tilt ourselves.
Yeah.
When is Dragon? All right, and we're voting to, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You're better than this.
Yeah.
Like I know you're better than this. There's no
Yeah.
this doesn't
I
do
just
anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt so hopeless in this game. Like I watched how Samira played it, and she like had a lot of gold, right?
So who
And
cares? Who
yeah,
cares? Who cares? Like that's like it doesn't we don't give a shit about like we want to win the game obviously, but the LP
yeah,
doesn't matter. All that we care about is what we can improve on. You have to
yeah,
you have to develop that mindset or you're not going to improve.
yeah,
You have to develop the mindset of all right, I the only person that matters is me. The only
yeah.
person that matters in this game is me. My teammates are AI, my teammates are robots. It doesn't
Mm,
matter. Like, what's the point in typing to think of it like every game you're playing is co-op versus AI.
mm.
Is there a point? Would you spam ping and type to AI and bots?
Yeah, no, no, no.
Why wouldn't you?
I mean, it's just useless, right?
Right, it's useless. But why is it useless?
They won't change like their behavior or
Right, they
anything.
won't change their behavior. They won't. They're bots.
Yeah,
They don't treat your teammates like robots
yeah,
because it doesn't matter. We're never going to see them again. There's no point. If
yeah,
if like this was a competitive setting, right? If this
yeah,
was a competitive setting,
yeah,
obviously don't flame. But then there
yeah,
comes a point of like, okay, paying attention to your teammates' mistakes because then they can improve. But we don't give a
yeah.
fuck about that. Like,
Mm,
and please don't pretend like it's like there's just some like selfless like the reason why you're spamming is because you're selfless. You're
mm.
tilted. You're frustrated. You're tilted, and you're taking out your frustration on your teammates. That's what's
Yeah,
happening here.
yeah,
And that's not the path to improvement. The path to improvement is understanding, yep, I fuck up. That happens. Like they're not your teammates aren't even running it down, you know?
yeah,
Like they're not
yeah. But
playing
I
they're
mean,
not playing perfect, but they're not running it
yeah,
down.
yeah,
Like nobody in this game is trolling. Everybody
yeah,
in this game is trying to win, except for you. You're the person who's like spamming your teammates. Like I know you want to win, but it doesn't look
yeah,
like it from an outside perspective, does it? You're
yeah,
spamming FF. You're like flaming your teammates. You're spamming a lot. Like
yeah,
it happens. Some people have bad games. It's all good. right?
Yeah.
But but when we just wind up setting ourselves in this path of just spam ping, typing, spam ping, typing, spam ping, typing, it's
Mm.
just not only does it tilt them, it does nothing to for us to win, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, the first thing is that I like if at any point you decide to enable chat, stop playing.
Yeah.
Stop playing. Stop playing for the day.
Yeah.
Play on your Smurf, do something else, but stop playing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you're re-enabling chat, something is wrong. And keep chat disabled, and that should be your benchmark. If you are
Yeah.
ever enabling chat, you have been playing too long today. All right?
Mm.
This is a big deal because we're
Mm.
not going to improve if we keep having this mindset of like teammates are at fault, teammates are at fault, teammates are at fault, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, isn't it like um isn't it like kind of worth to like surrender when I like, because I know like that I'm not going
Sure,
to
but
be
the
able to
game isn't
carry this.
but
Yeah.
what do you mean? This is absolutely winnable. What?
Yeah, I mean it is winnable, but like I don't know, like I watched how what Samira does in the fight, and I'm like,
Who
yeah, she
cares?
does
This
that.
does
Yeah,
nothing, man. This does nothing. This is so like never ever like you guys are ahead. Why are you FFing? What do you mean you can't carry this? You don't. You're Xin Zhao. You're obviously not going to be the carry.
yeah,
If you're Hecarim, maybe, but even then, like you're not the win condition.
yeah,
Samira is. How like think of it like say that to yourself again and like think about it.
yeah,
Like no like imagine if your team is like imagine how you would feel if it was your if you were trying to carry and it was your Samira who said that. I
mm,
can't carry this, so I want to FF.
mm,
Like think about that. Play that to yourself in your head. Like
mm,
pause real quick and for like just think about that to yourself in your head. How you would feel if you're Samira, if you were trying to carry this game, right? If you really wanted to win and your Samira was like, "Well, I can't carry, so I want to FF."
mm.
Like just think about it.
Yeah, I mean it's weird, right?
It's not weird. It's like that's awful. Like
Yeah,
that's awful. Like awful feeling for your teammates. Like you're not the only like you have there's other people in this game.
yeah,
They're fucking they're human beings, right? Like
yeah,
you're it's this is so troll. Like I understand like that it's frustrating, but like that's just not a that's a very awful mindset to carry. That's
mm,
something that you really need to kick. Just because you can't carry doesn't mean the game is over.
mm,
Especially if you're playing champions like Xin Zhao who are playing for team.
yeah,
Like Xin Zhao is a champion who wants to play for team, you know?
yeah,
But yeah, like brother, there's so first things first. All right, first things first. It's the mental thing that we
yeah,
really need to work on. Every single time if we ever re-enable chat, it is
yeah,
over. It is over. We're done playing for the day. That's it. You
yeah,
need to have that. If you have to write it down, if you have to tattoo it on onto your arm, if you have to spray paint it onto your desk, whatever. But that has to be a rule. That
mm,
has to be a rule because the only thing that we're going to wind up doing by doing this is just losing. That's it. That's all it does.
yeah,
That's all we're going to wind up doing. And it's not a mindset that you're ever going to be able to like translate into any reasonable improvement.
mm,
Um Next, I would say like you need proper camera control. We
mm,
played basically that entire game uh with locked camera.
mm,
Like pretty much the entire game with locked camera. We had some
mm,
moments where we were looking at lanes, but the vast majority of the game we were playing with locked camera. We weren't looking at
mm,
waves, we weren't looking at anything like that. Like you need to get in the habit of looking at lanes, even if there's not much that you can do there. Even if
yeah,
there's not much that you can do there, just look at it. Look at waves, because
mm,
if we're under the mindset of like, oh, like there's nothing I can do, then we're just going to keep having that mindset, and because we need to get into the position of looking at lanes, looking at that, we need to develop the habit first instead of
mm,
just only doing it at certain times.
mm,
What are the other big ones that I wanted to go over? I mean, mental and camera control were the biggest things that I noticed, but like I mean, all of it is stemming from camera control. Like proper invades, all of that stems from camera control. I mean, if we are ever in a position like where we want to go for this, Um, then like look at lanes first. When you're playing
Yeah.
stuff like Xin Zhao, uh,
Yeah.
never go for full clears. Like
Yeah.
you want to get onto the map as soon as possible. Avoid full clearing as much as possible. Unless like unless we're looking at the lanes and realizing there's nothing like there's nothing we can do. In competitive, people full clear on Xin Zhao. Why do they
Mm.
full clear in competitive on Xin Zhao?
They're not gonna have any opportunities, right?
Right, there's an established like
Respect for the jungler, right?
right,
Yeah.
there's an established game plan. They know exactly
Mm.
what's going to be happening. They know exactly because they know exactly how the waves are going to be. That's just how it works. In solo queue
Mm.
that does not exist. That does not exist. So when you're playing like full clearers, right?
Mhm.
It's fine. You just full clear. It's fine. It
Mhm.
happens, right? You can look for ganks on like I mentioned in one of our early sessions, like red Krugs Raptors into mid if it's free.
Yeah.
Um, but otherwise we don't really care.
Mhm.
Like we're full clearing. It's the same way on utility jungles, except in the opposite. We're red blue grump, we're red raptors grump. We're getting level 3 as fast as possible, and we're looking for a play. We're not going to force a play, but we're going to look for a play. We're going to look at
Mhm.
our lanes. We're going to be like, can I play for? Can I do this? Can I like play for them? Okay, sure. If we can't, we can't.
Mhm.
Happens. Um, yeah, I mean, this is just we don't have the information that we need to go for any of these plays. Oh, big one. Don't blind W.
Yeah.
Like, don't blind W when we're
Mhm.
Wing. It's like do it while they're knocked up.
Yeah.
Uh, Otherwise, you know, we give them the opportunity to dodge it. It's really grief. If we're in E
A
range,
big
we're in E
chunk,
range.
right? Yeah.
Yes, unless they're
Mm.
stunned, because it's a massive amount of our damage.
Mhm.
Those are the biggest ones that I wanted to
Mhm.
go over, and I cannot reiterate enough that
Mhm.
we really need to work on the mental. Like
Yeah.
we if it, it's pinging them is fine, but don't type. Have
Yeah.
chat disabled, and if you're ever in a position where chat is off or chat is on, just stop playing for the day.
Mm.
You
Okay.
promise me that you will do that,
Yeah. Can do. Yeah.
all right? Because
Mhm.
that is a that is that's it's a big deal,
Mhm.
all right?
Yeah.
But yeah, work on camera
Mhm.
control. Basically, I mean, if you want drills to work on, practice your
Mhm.
clears. Practice your clears with this, and every single time, anytime you're between camps, just practice clicking on on your map at like mid lane,
Mhm.
whatever you're pathing into. Just practice that. It's a nice little
Mhm.
drill. It gets you ready for actually playing in real games.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's all I got for you right now, brother. That's
Okay.
it.
Thanks.
All right, no worries.
Mhm.
Does anybody else have a VOD that they wanted to go over? We got like 20, 19 minutes. Well, one second. Let me check something real quick. What elo? I believe platinum. One second. Um.
I wasn't here for the beginning of this session, but did you ever go over like preseason stuff?
Oh, no, I haven't, so we can go over that real quick. Okay, preseason changes. Let me share screen real quick and let's go over that. That's a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. Preseason 2021. Um, is there? Okay, hold up. Let me just look. Lol. Preseason 2021. Wait, 22 is it? It's 22, right? No, I want the actual patch notes. Is it under? Oh, there it is. Found it. fix the Evelyn bug? Nice. Well, not nice. Fuck Evelyn. Fuck that champ.
Thank God. Oh my God.
No, fuck
So
that. Fuck that. Your
annoying.
champ deserves garbage.
The champion's still bugged.
Yeah,
It's
she's
still
still bugged,
bugged?
but that's the
Which one
vision
did
bug,
they
right?
fix?
Oh wait, where's Pier?
Oh wait, no, they didn't fix that.
Oh, all right. Well, hopefully that champ stays bugged. Fuck that shit. I hate that champion.
There's
Okay.
like 6 bugs this
Okay, so everything to go over. Wait, that's not all of the mage items. Wait, so I think these ones. Okay, so first one, Crown of the Shattered Queen. Uh, there's a lot to unpack about this item. There for the if you're building this, there's a few champions where I think it's actually it's now core item. On Fiddlesticks, I think this is a core item. On Fiddlesticks with this and Zonya's, you are immortal. It's really, really gross. Like, really, really gross. You are really, really strong with this item because you basically have like a full 4 seconds of just duration where nobody can touch you. You are just unfuckwithable. Evenshroud, really, really strong. It's really, really strong. Tank supports were already pretty okay. I wouldn't say god tier, but they're pretty okay, especially broken in solo queue. Evenshroud made them even better, gives them more damage. I'd say this is even something to consider on stuff like Pike or on stuff like on because Pike doesn't really have a mythic that he can go like a lethality mythic because all of these are ungodly expensive. So Evenshroud represents something like that. I would say that it's even something to consider on some tank top laners because the amount of damage is pretty insane. Axiom Arc, I don't know, need more testing, but on most champions I think this is pretty not great. The problem is like even on stuff like Nocturne, outside of certain abuse, like lethality Nocturne is really grief. So what winds up happening is when you're spending 3,000 gold for basically cooldown reduction. That's it. The damage that you're getting is like non-existent, right? Because it's a 10 lethality item. And on top of that, lethality Nocturne is really just super bait. This is an item that you're like instead of spending 3,000 gold on like something like a Sterax or something like I don't know, like a Guardian Angel or an Edge of Night, you're spending this like purely on cooldown reduction, which is not great. Shadowflame, I don't think it's a core rush on anybody, but for the situations where they have shielding, it's pretty insane. Um, it's really really nice. I don't think it's a core rush, but it is really, really nice. They didn't mention this here, but they buffed Void Staff to now it's 45% Magic Pen, which means that it is in basically every single situation, unless they have shielding, it's going to outperform Shadowflame except way cheaper. Um, it's really, really, really good. Void Staff is much better. Well, it's not much better than it was before, but it's still really, really strong. Something that a lot of people don't realize is that 5% when you're at 40% is a lot more than 5% when you're at 0%. It's a lot more. It's not that much more, but it's still more. Winter's Approach and slash Fimbulwinter. I think it's okay. I don't think it's a good second item because it's pure HP, but I think as a third or fourth item, it's really good, and you just sit on the tier. Tier is really good on a lot of tanks in lane, like Ornn, Maokai. Oh, really like having just sitting on a tier in lane, even stuff like Singed. Simply because they often have pretty massive mana issues, and having more mana lets them sustain more because a lot of the time their champion has innate sustain, like in the case of Maokai. And the thing that's stopping him from being able to consistently trade is the fact that he often lacks mana if he's just spamming Ian Bush or whatever, perma trading. So stuff like tier really benefits them. First strike, at first glance I thought it was pretty lackluster. At second glance I still thought it was pretty lackluster, but really broken on abuse cases like Kayn. Kayn gets double the orbs when he takes this for some because of the way that the damage works. I think it's pretty good. On stuff like Kha'Zix, it's I think the best rune for him because he doesn't need the extra damage from. It's not that he doesn't need the extra damage from Electrocute, but the way Kha'Zix isolation damage works is that the you do so much more that 10% of that is basically the equivalent to Electrocute. And most of the time you're overkilling, so if you have Q Evolution, you get 2 Qs, you're overkilling them super hard, and you can get an insane amount of gold from first strike. Oftentimes more than the kill that you spent, so you can just farm the same people over and over again, and get yourself absurdly fed. Um, Glacial Augment looks pretty good on the champions that want to take it. Stuff with CC looks pretty good. Lethal tempo, some okay abuse case scenarios. I think that for the most part, this just feels incredibly clunky. On almost every single range champion, I think it's significantly worse than lethal tempo used to be, and most of those champions should look for taking something else. For melee champions that build Bork, I think this is really good. So for stuff like Jax, I think this is pretty good. For stuff like for Viego, I think this is okay. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's that much better than Conqueror, but I think it's pretty okay. It's just a little bit awkward because when you're auto attacking a lot versus just getting more damage on your auto attacks, it gives you less time to kite, and it just feels really awkward. I completely skipped objective bounties. I think this is a really terrible change to League of Legends. If you're playing scaling champions, this is really, really broken for you. Objective bounties pretty much give you an insane amount of gold for doing absolutely nothing. It also makes things really, really rough because when you're ahead, you feel like you have to take stuff like Rift that doesn't really do much for you just to deny an extra 600 gold from the enemy team, uh, because it's just otherwise it's just really, really rough. Um, it also means that you have to defend a lot of things that you don't. So when you're ahead, you have to be a lot more defensive, so that you don't give up anything. When you're ahead, you basically have to take everything, and you have to make sure that waves are pretty much perfect. Otherwise, because if you let things ever go behind, you can find yourself with a lead into having a pretty massive disadvantage. I guess we go on to tank items. Abyssal Mask. Uh, Wow, this is an interesting item. So on stuff like on Fiddlesticks, I think this is pretty disgusting. This is basically a tank Shadowflame with cooldown reduction. Really, really, really gross. There was another tank item. Oh yeah, not force of, is this force of nature? I forget what this item is. Really, really strong. They finally gave tanks an item to deal with mage items, which is really, really nice for everybody but the champions who are doing 80 damage. They are not really liking this much. The thing about this item is that it's really like your one-stop shop for dealing with mages. You don't really need to get much more magic resist than this, and the rest you can devote towards building armor items and making 80 champions just really, really sad. Let me see the first. I don't actually know the exact changes that happen to the tank items. Let's see. Now executes. Okay, whatever. Um, Basic attack, steal, magic damage. Okay, I mean obviously that's beneficial. Um, Refuel. Yeah, I remember this. It just gives more damage. It's nice.
Isn't it like really good on Hecarim now, maybe?
Turbo Chemtank? No, because of his W.
Okay.
Tank Hecarim got gutted the second that they changed his W to the way it is currently. Which the problem is that Hecarim really, really benefits from building AD because they put his healing ratio, they gave it an AD ratio. So when you're the way that Tank Hecarim used to work was you can just build full tank and then you heal with W and you're fine. But now, no, it's not. It's not ideal. I think it's pretty okay item on tanks that are building it though. Looks pretty good. Sunfire. I mean, just overall buffs looks pretty good. I already went over Abyssal Mask. Really, really insane on the champions that are building it. This is a really, really gross item. Um, the the only thing is like the unmake passive isn't massive, but on stuff like Fiddlesticks, it's basically exactly on your ult range, so it's pretty insane. I mean, I already went over this. Knight's Vow. Guess I wasn't in this. Knight's Vow. I mean, it was already so. This seems like it's really, really broken. Changes. It's basically the equivalent of what it was before. But there's a lot more champions that can actually use it now. Specifically, ranged champions can use this a lot better. Um, well, because like it's or not ranged champions. Melee champions can use this a lot better because what happens is that uh melee champions really benefit taking more damage, so they get more healing in the fight. But the healing regen, a lot of people didn't realize this healing regen is insane. Like this is almost like a Warmog's worth of HP for ungodly cheap stats. It was already a pretty strong item. I mean, this is just, it looks like it's a little bit better, but it's not that much better. This is criminally underbuilt. It's a really strong item. Obviously just a standard buff. I mean, same thing. Buff for Locket. This is obviously a massive buff for Locket because it means Aegis is cheaper now, which means that's like having a 1400 gold recall for your item component is awful for supports because everything is just really expensive. Everfrost, massive buffs all around. 400 gold is insane. And the build path is also a lot better because having Blasting Wand versus Amp Tome, it's way easier to get an Amp Tome recall than it is the other way. I think that in all of the, like, most of the time, the question is going to be, like, whether or not you need the defensive stats from Crown versus when you can just, you know, have Everfrost and have the active. It's just, this is so insane. Like having this 2,800 gold cheaper, or I mean 400 gold cheaper, the people who used to build it, the Silases, stuff like that, massive buffs all around, especially stuff with stuff like Fimbulwinter, I think are really disgusting. All in all, I mean even Seraph's is pretty good, and we'll go over that in a second. Demonic, another really good tank, like AP Bruiser item. Um, it's really insane. It gets the most benefit when you're building a lot of tank stats, but all in all, if you build one take item, it's better than it was before. On melee champions, it's even way better. This is such a disgusting item. If you're building this on any AP Bruiser, the Swains, the Fiddlesticks, the I mean, I don't know. There's a million of them. So the Silases, this item is just insane. Especially when you combine this with the Everfrost changes, you're looking at an AP Bruiser meta. It's really disgusting. Archangels. Uh, Another fantastic AP Bruiser item. This is insane. The cooldown reduction is ridiculous. This is basically in almost every single situation just a standard buff than it was before. The healing that you're getting from this. Wait, no. Where is it? Right here. The healing that you're getting from Empyrean it's basically, if you remember Roa, it's basically the same as that, except it scales better. And the champions that have pretty high mana costs are really liking this. This amount of cooldown reduction is basically going to be anywhere from 30 to 40 once you get out to late game, or once you complete it. It's really nice. Having an HP, it just all synergizes really well with Demonic, and with the added benefit of just being able to build Zanyas and you have pretty nice armor. Uh, this is again really nice for AP Bruisers. Cosmic Drive, also really nice changes for AP Bruisers. The movement speed is really nice that you get it straight off the bat. Is really nice. Because then it's something that you don't really need to, you know, go for those super high, what's it called? The gold value, and you also get the fact that you just get more movement speed off of this. It's just super nice for anybody who's going to be trying to perma move in combat. I think that they made AP Bruiser items. They gave it a lot more windows, so like if you need the mobility, you can get Cosmic Drive. It's just, you know, obviously ideal. It's really nice. Horizon Focus, I don't know. I think it's just terrible. I think it's always been terrible. I think that this is just really weird. I don't think anybody should be building Horizon Focus at all. I think that almost in every single circumstance, there's going to be a better item to take. The slow seems okay. The fact that it works on slows, I think there's probably some champions that can really abuse this, but for the most part, this just seems like a pretty bad item. This just seems like there's a lot more. So Void Staff, it's 100 gold more. You get the extra 5% magic pen. In the circumstances where you're building this, you're basically doing true damage. I wouldn't say it's a flat out buff, but when you're comparing it to Shadowflame, it is. Oh, interesting. You can click it. Weird. It's just really nice. Doran's Ring. I didn't even know they changed this. Seems okay. Alternator. not entirely certain. I think that overall this is okay if you're playing with it in lane. Double Amp Tome versus Ruby Crystal, it's a lot more in favor of having Ruby Crystal because Ruby Crystal building HP flat out is really, really nice, unless you need it for a certain breakpoint. So certain champions like Echo need a certain breakpoint so that they can one-shot the wave with Q, or one-shot casters with Q and then one-shot the melees with Q, or with autos in the passive. If you miss out on the breakpoint, life is a bit rough. For most other champions, if you're actually going to be fighting, really, really, really nice. Rocketbelt just changed the build path. It just seems nothing happened. Night Harvester, still nobody's building this item because it sucks. Duskblade, all in all, really, really nice. Just standard buffs for all of the lethality items because it's just 100 gold cheaper. Life is good. I don't think it's enough to make all of lethality assassins great. Most of them are pretty shit, especially with the fact that bruisers and AP bruisers and tanks they have more itemization choices against them, and mages in general, which is not great. Some lethality assassins like Kha'Zix don't give a fuck because they were just going to like get W evolution and then poke down your Crown of the Shattered Queen anyways. So either way, nothing really changed. So they just wound up getting like massive buffs, but for the Rengars, for pretty much almost everybody else, life is not good for them. There's just too much stuff that just absolutely donkey fucks them. First strike, already went over that. Glacial, lethal. Was that it? There's still stuff that. Oh, the dragons. Okay. Crab changes. Pretty good. Pretty good. For anybody who like wants to just farm. The crab changes mean that you can just full clear and it doesn't matter. If you lose the crab, if you get double crabbed, the gold value to it is so small it doesn't matter. And if you don't have prio and you can just one-shot the crab and get out, the crab is like 1 HP, so you can kill it in pretty much one rotation on any champion in the game. Cloud Dragon, the Cloud Dragon got changed from cooldown reduction to on your ult to now you just get flat movement speed, or you get percent movement speed, and you get slow resistance. Situationally pretty good for map rotations. It's pretty nice. I think that I wouldn't say it's a standard buff because a lot of champions like Kassadin really, really liked having that ult's cooldown reduction, but all in all, I think that this is a pretty nice improvement because the movement speed is a lot better. The soul is unchanged. Just the mini dragons are a little bit different. Chem Dragon. So this is weird. I think the soul is actually overrated. I think that for the most part, if you have Soul, you are probably going to win regardless. And having a Scion passive, you just walk away. On the champions, like there's a lot of really easy ways of dealing with this, and a lot of the time I would rather have the ability to do damage to kill you in the first place, so that I don't have to die, than having just a revive when I die. It's just really awkward. The mini dragons are really nice. It's basically an infernal dragon. It's the equivalent. In some cases it's better, in some cases it's worse. You get 5% increased damage when you're lower HP, which is really, really nice. Each of the fart clouds give you 10% increased damage when you're in them towards people with higher HP total than you, so you basically get 2 of them. For squishy champions, this is really, really nice. The dragon effect is that when it's lower, it does more damage. All in all, it's interesting. I wouldn't say it's super broken. It's okay. Hextech Dragon, pretty nice. A lot of champions. The gates are interesting. They add a lot of Oh, that's about the zones. Another thing about the zones is the camouflage zone. It's actually pretty large, but because you can't ward in it, it makes vision control a lot more difficult, and a lot more interesting. It's stuff that still needs to be tested, but this is really, really oppressive when you're ahead because you can no longer control your jungle, and people can just wait for you to show up and then just one-shot you and you enter your jungle because you can't actually ward anything. Uh, Really, really oppressive when you're ahead, lackluster when you're behind, but not because of the soul. The soul is actually the least important part of that. It's more the implications for how you can operate in your jungle, and the fact that all of your carries just pretty much melt the tanks. Sometimes though this is going to be useless, especially if you're too far ahead, where everybody in your team is just several levels ahead, then it's just like you don't have a dragon. But in most other circumstances, it's still pretty interesting. All right. Hextech dragons, 5% attack speed and 5% cooldown reduction per dragon. Uh, Pretty interesting. So on a lot of champions, this is going to be better than Infernal because a lot of them that are like super CDR hungry, and it also changes your build order. So there are certain champions that need to get to a certain CDR breakpoint so that they feel good. Having Hextech Dragon means that they can build a little bit more. They can build a little bit differently. They can go items that they otherwise wouldn't. I think that this has really interesting implications for build paths. And a lot of champions like this actually a lot more than Infernal Dragon. The Soul is probably, in my opinion, one of, if not the best Soul in the game currently. The utility that you get from this is crazy. The slow is really insane, and the damage is pretty much equivalent to Infernal Soul, because it does true damage, whereas Infernal Soul does it's either physical or it's depends on what you're building. I think it's physical, but I don't know for sure. I think that's everything. There's also the Caitlyn thing. They pretty much made Caitlyn feel miserable. Uh, that's. Does anybody have any questions about certain parts of the patch?
Yeah, you mentioned Crown of the Shattered Queen Fiddlesticks.
Mhm.
Why is that so valuable when normally when you're going in and dealing most of the damage, they're gonna be like
Feared?
feared and silenced,
Because if they're
so
feared
you
and
won't get
silenced,
like the extra AP right away, right? For like your big combo.
what do you mean? You get they can't break you get the AP even if the shield is unbroken.
Oh, I thought it was only once you've taken damage.
So see, while safeguarded and yeah, so actually it might be. I think it's yeah,
I thought you only
yeah.
got the bonus AP once you took
I think
damage.
it's only after you take damage then it loses. Yeah, so you are while safeguarded and for 3 seconds after it's broken. So you are safeguarded. So while it's up, so while it's you have that damage reduction, which it applies. The damage reduction still stays. So you get the AP just straight out the gate. And it stays until it breaks, and it after 3 seconds after it breaks. So you get
Oh,
it
I
during the
see.
entire, yeah, you
I
get it
thought it
during the entire duration.
activated, but it just
Yes,
like
yes,
turns off three
yeah.
seconds after.
So and
Okay.
and basically just this item just makes you invulnerable for like 6 seconds that nobody can touch you. I think it's really really good. I think that it's also it's interesting. It has some interesting implications on a lot of other champions that just want to engage. I think that on stuff like Silas, this is kind of actually really interesting as well, because you have that extra damage reduction, so you can kind of just go sicko mode on a lot of fights.
Yeah,
I think
I
this
just
is a
thought
really
you
interesting
didn't
item.
get the
Yeah, yeah,
AP.
yeah, no worries. It's an interesting item. I think that it's actually least beneficial on mages. The mages that want to build this are generally going to want to build more damage. So unless it's a really emergency situation where they have like 3 engaged champions or they're all burst and they have no way of poking it down, I think for the most part mages don't want to build this. Anyways, any other questions?
Yeah, it's not really a question, but like I'm curious because I think you're downplaying Chem Chem Drake, because
Mhm,
firstly, like when you say, oh, like you can just run away and stuff, most people aren't really gonna do that. The thing about the Chem Drake is that like pretend you go in, yeah, you burst the ADC,
mhm,
they have Chem Drake, and you kill them. You're not really gonna have enough resources to go and kill that ADC again without getting killed like ace by like the whole entire team. You know, like a lot of the times when you verse a team with Chem Drake, once you kill
mhm.
like one or two members or something, you're still gonna have to fight all those alive members. Unless you're talking about when people get picks or something, then like yeah, you can just run away. But like if it's a 5v5 team fight,
Mhm.
this dragon provides so much unnecessary like
Right.
disadvantage to the team fighting.
Right. So I get what you're saying. So think about it like this, right? First of all, when you die, your cooldowns aren't reset. So if you burn all your cooldowns killing someone and you're dead, you still don't have your cooldowns. So I think situationally this can be pretty good. But I would much rather have the ability to kill them in the first place without having to die for it. Like with having an Infernal Soul or a Chem Dragon Soul, just being able to poke them down and having that instead of having the like having to die for it, right? Because generally when you're ahead, if you probably have bounties, you really, really don't want to die, even if you can, kill more. I think that situationally this can be okay. I think overall this is pretty overrated though. I think that because like if it reset your cooldowns when you killed someone, but for the most part, all of your cooldowns when you burn it all and kill someone is still going to be down. So it's really not that ideal. You also get a damage reduction when you're revived by about 30% damage reduction. So it's really not that oppressive as people think. It just seems really, really oppressive because, oh, everybody has a Scion passive now. But in actuality, when you think about the counterplay, it's I think that it's kind of super overhyped. I think it's a strong soul. I think that it's definitely better than Cloud. I don't know if I think that it's probably equivalent to Infernal. I would personally rather Infernal, but in terms of like, all that stuff. So the thing about it like this, right? So you have Mountain, which means you never die in the first place, right? Mountain Soul is really, really oppressive because you just don't die in the first place. Everybody just gets flat HP, and you have it synergizes really well with the Mountain Dragons, and you're super, super tanky. Especially in this meta where everybody's building more resistances, Mountain is even better. So I would say Mountain Soul is probably one of, if not the best. I think that Ocean Dragon, Ocean Soul is mediocre. I think that it's pretty good, but I don't think it's like the best. Chem Soul is or Hex Soul is really, really insane. Because it does equivalent damage to Infernal, and you're also getting that slow. So I would say it's up there as well. I think most of the dragons are in line now, with Cloud Soul still being the worst. Yeah, but Mountain's still pretty insane. I think but you're seeing what I'm saying, right? Wouldn't you rather be able to kill them without dying, or being able to not die in the first place, than just
Yeah.
having something like in the 5v5, right? If people are dying, I can totally see the use out of that. But there's more to the game than just, standard 5v5 team fighting. So in all the other situations, like you didn't have a soul in the first place, which is really rough,
Yeah, it's just like another aspect too of it is like if you're losing and you're in a 5v5 team fight, you just pull off some insane like team fight or something,
Hmm.
having to kill them again, it's just like imagine like oh you kill them and then like your ADC gets killed by their ADC in Chemtank and now you
Hmm.
can't do Baron, There's
So
so many
right.
variables that it provides like just
Hmm.
unfortunate circumstances.
So
Like it's
I totally get that. Trust me, I totally get that. But the thing is like most of the time, if you're behind against a soul, like us, so think about it like this, right? If you're behind against and you don't have soul, right? So
Mhm.
they probably wouldn't have lost that fight in the first place if they just had the stats from Mountain, or if they just had the stats from Soul, or if they just had the stats from Hex Dragon, right? If they had those souls, they probably wouldn't have lost the fight in the first place, right? Because they just have so much more stats. If everybody in the game just had 300 more HP from Mountain Dragon, right? All of that more resistances from the individual dragons, right? If they had the extra slow and the extra true damage from Hex Soul, if they just had the extra sustain from Ocean Soul, right? They probably wouldn't have ever been in the situation where they would have lost that fight in the first place. I think situationally, very, very situationally, this can be pretty oppressive. And like I said, as a soul and as dragons, this tends to be a lot better when the more ahead you are. The more ahead you are, the better this dragon, the better the soul is. Simply because like the each of the chem zones are really insane. Uh, for like vision denial, and on top of that, it's just the increased damage is pretty nice, but it helps you annihilate carries. But you're seeing what I'm saying, right? The extra stats probably would have resulted in a team fight win or loss anyways. There's definitely some situations where this can be pretty oppressive, right? But I think that's the case with most dragons. In a lot of like in a case where you have like three bruisers and a bunch of tanks, and you have a mountain soul, the game's unlosable, right? In a situation where they have a lot of slows and stuff like that, Cloud Dragons can be pretty insane because then you get like 3.5 times 3, you get 11% slow resistance and 11% movement speed. That can be pretty good, right? So if their comp requires you to like slow them down, if they have like an Ash or whatever, the cloud dragons can be pretty good, right? If you have champions that really need that attack speed and that cloud soul, if they really need to kite, Hextech Dragon can be pretty good. I think as a whole, most of the dragons are pretty in line with each other, and I don't think the thing that I was trying to say is like most people are saying that Chemsoul is just the most broken thing in the game, and I don't think that's very true at all. I don't think it's like turbo weak, but I don't think it's like the most. I think it's pretty overrated. That's all
I'd
I'm trying to
agree.
say. But yeah.
I, yeah, there was just another thing is like I feel like when you explaining lethal tempo,
Mhm.
downplaying it a lot kinda because like lethal tempo kinda changed the whole entire game for like things. Yeah, it fucked over like Kog'Maw, Veins,
Mhm.
whatever. Like it fucked over ADC. But melee people like Yasuo, Own, Jax, Tryndamere, what's called Irelia and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like it completely changed them, especially your Suan thing. People didn't like did the calculations, and it's practically giving you like 1,000 and something gold
20.
worth
It's
of stats.
2,200 gold. Yeah, worth of
Yeah,
attack speed. But like, and
lethal tempo on
sorry, continue.
yeah, lethal tempo on melee champions is like some of the most broken thing ever.
Yeah, so I mentioned that when I was going over it. Bork champions that are generally building Bork in some abuse cases, like for Yasuo and Yone, it's because of how lethal tempo and attack speed works on their Q, so it gives them more cooldown reduction. But for the rest of them, it's just champions building Bork. For all of the
True.
other champions who are building lethal tempo, this is a lot worse than it was before. So for the Twitches, the Jinxes, the Kog'Maws, the Vaynes, all of that, this is worse. For the champions like Nocturne, this is worse. For the champions, I mean, there's a lot of champions, but for the for everybody
Lord
except for
tempo.
the Jaxes and the Aurelias, if you'll notice, all of the champions who are building Bork, this is a lot worse. And the reason why lethal tempo works for them is because Bork with lethal tempo has a disgusting interaction. It's not because of like the attack speed. It's because most of the time, like on the champions who even like would rather have the tankiness, like when you're building lethal, you're really really squishy, like really really squishy. So you need to make up for the tankiness some way. And for Bork, it's the fact that you're just life stealing drain tanking off of everything, right? But for everybody else, it's a lot rougher because when you take lethal, you don't have the tankiness. So like on stuff like on stuff that would otherwise take lethal, that would like want Conqueror, right? If they want to take lethal tempo, they're just super super squishy. So you're fighting against that. But if you do have Bork built, this is really really oppressive and it has a lot of abuse cases. But I mentioned that earlier. It's mostly with Bork and then some certain abuse cases like where they need certain attack speed thresholds, like Yasuo so that he can get Q, like Yone so that he can get Q. Any champion with like certain attack speed steroids. So like for example, Viego, when you have lethal tempo, you get about 500 times 90. Um, you get actually, so it's about 0.5 times 500. Is that it? Hold up. What's the? I forget it, but it's you basically get a ton of tankiness. You get a bunch of because of how Viego's passive works, every time you also because he builds Bork, also because he has on hit on his Q, but uh every time he picks up a kill, and like he steals a body, the heal ratio is based off of attack speed. So there's a lot of other stuff his Q. But anyways, champions with specific lethal like attack speed breakpoints that they need to reach, lethal tempo is really nice in those cases.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that are just saying, "Oh, you get the extra, like you get so much attack speed and you get so much attack range, like this is so broken." But like really there's just a few it's the same way with first strike. You have like a few champions who are like really really abusing this, who are making this like insanely broken. So like if we look at the stats, right? The biggest abusers are for lethal tempo is Jax. Uh and then one of the biggest abusers for first strike is Kha'Zix. So let's look at the Kha'Zix win rate on first strike, right? We have 50. It's I believe 53%, right? This is insane. But this is ridiculous. This is completely overpowered. 53% is insane. Then let's look at Jax, right? um, 51.6. Like even then, it's not that much better. like it's better. It's better, but it's not that much better. You have a few abuse cases like Jax. Like I don't even think Tryndamere. I
Has
think
this got
Tryndamere
updated?
preferred. Huh?
Has that got updated? Because no one is running Conqueror Jacks. Like it's so
Oh,
much
I
more
mean it's seven.
inferior.
It's 70. It's about a fifth of the sample size, but it's still 20,000. So it's 20,000 versus 90,000. But so basically 20% of the time people are running Conqueror, but the sample size is still big enough. It's 20,000 that this is an accurate data
Yeah.
set. Um,
Okay.
so let's go to Tryndamere. I honestly think Tryndamere just benefited way more from old lethal tempo because there was less that you had to do for it. Um, so let's look at his win rate. So 52.1%, and then let's look at 11.21. So you had 50.1. Okay. So he definitely benefited from it, but I honestly wouldn't say that it's that big of a I wouldn't say that like the changes for lethal, I think that they're both good, but like one was better in its own. So like early game when you hit that spike, when you're playing around that spike, you just go, actually, I'm curious. I wonder what it is in G2 Plus. Because old lethal tempo was harder to use. Old new one is just like hit bad guy and you're fine. 51%. I definitely think it's probably better because it is a lot of attack speed. And it's consistent
A lot
attack
of
speed
range
too.
too.
Yeah, 53. Yeah, I can see that. Old lethal was kind of just you get this value and it's really really nice, and you don't really have to do anything else. Sorry. Fuck, I need some water. But like old lethal was kind of you just get this stats and it's really really nice. You get a bunch of attack speed. It's pretty poggers. Um, New one is kind of you have to do stuff for it, which is not a lot of stuff, but it's a different it's still something different. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say that there's definitely a few abuse cases, but I don't think that it's the same way with first strike. I think that it's going to be really hard to balance these because what Riot's probably going to do is they're probably going to leave the champions the way they are and then balance the champions around the rune instead of balance the rune around the champions, which is awful because it means that a lot of champions are just going to be worthless unless they take a specific rune. So like Kha'Zix is probably going to get nerfed even harder, and he's going to be balanced entirely around first strike instead of being balanced around having other runes. Because otherwise, I can't see a universe where first strike would ever be viable on any champion at all. Anyways, that's the lethal tempo stuff.
Yeah.
Any other questions about anything? Any like any change that they're confused about? Any chance like they want clarification on about what I said? Anything at all?
Have you found a use case for demonic on Karthus?
I experimented a little bit, but for the most part, I think it's a dead item.
Yeah.
On Karthus, I think, but not because it's terrible, but because there's so many other better items now.
Better items, yeah.
Yep. So let's go over.
Seraphs and Void and
Yeah, Seraphs and Void are really, really insane. I think that this is just absolutely disgusting. And then obviously not going Zanyas on Karthus is like the most troll thing you can do ever. Um, so I think like Void Staff is I think that as a sixth item, so I think his current core is probably still Zanya's, Seraph's, Zanya's, Liandry's, and Void Staff. And then so that's four items, and then a fifth item I think is probably Archangels, and then sixth item is probably something situational, Rabadons, or if they have shielding, then you can go Shadowflame, uh, and maybe if they have if they have a lot of melee champions, then you can go the slowy item, whatever the fuck it's called.
Rylai.
Rylai's that
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. So I mean, it's not so much that it's a terrible item, more just he lost a lot from it. He lost a lot of damage. He lost a lot of resistances. All in all, just kind of rough. He got some extra HP, but I'm sure there can be some use case for it, but I haven't really found one yet.
It's like really good on Singed, I heard.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah. Mm.
a lot of champions
On
that are
Zac,
building.
it's
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
on melee champions who are building HP, this is insane. It's really, really good. I'm specifically talking about Karthus, though.
Yeah.
On a lot of ranged champions, this is a little bit rough. But yeah, anything else? All right. Well,
Nope.
if that's everything, I guess that's going to conclude it for this session. Thank you all for coming.
thank you.
Thank you
Is
for
there a place we can find the recorded sesh?
Yeah, I'm going to. It's on my Twitch, but I'm going to upload it to YouTube after cleaning it up a little bit.
Alright, cool. Thank you.
All right, no worries.
Thank you.
Peace, everyone. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Adios. Peace.